Good morning, guys. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit. Um, a friend of mine had mentioned something on Facebook. She had mentioned something about the dealer charging her so much money to get her front brakes and rotors done on her car. And I thought to myself, well, front brakes and rotors, typically take about an hour and a half to 2 hours is what a dealer would charge to do a real good job. That's removing the tires, cleaning the rust or any of the oxidation off the back of the aluminum rims where they touch the metal rotors. There's a number of things that a mechanic will do when all that stuff comes apart. So if you take your time and do it right and you're not trying to rush through the job, then you can get a lot done in an hour and a half and really make sure you give them a good quality job. And a lot of that, what it entails is pulling the clips off that the brake pads ride back and forth on. There's a lot of debris and stuff that gets built up behind those clips, and you got to take a file and you got to file down the metal, grind it, and scrape away rust and oxidation and stuff to make sure the new stuff that you're putting on there fits properly. And a gentleman had popped up in the comment section. He said, well, it should only take about 30 minutes to do your brakes and about $120 for parts. Now, I don't know who does front brakes and rotors on a vehicle in 30 minutes, but if a gentleman wants to put front brakes and rotors on a vehicle in 30 minutes, he should do that on his own car because you're obviously not taking the safety precautions and making sure that the job is done correctly. And for somebody to be that ignorant to believe that this a job could get done in 30 minutes like that is beyond me. And when you pay for the minimum, you're paying bottom dollar for your brake rotors, your pads, and stuff like that. There's a reason why you're paying a minimum for that type of stuff. It's because they don't get machined correctly. The brake pads and stuff have extra paint on the edges that have to be ground off and scraped off from the aftermarket world. They don't fit like the dealer stuff does, the OEM stuff does. The clips and stuff that clip onto the brake caliper surface, the mounting places and stuff like that, they don't clip on, just as quite as snug and correctly as other stuff does. I can take a Ford pad and set of clips and just put it on a vehicle and clip in no problem at all, not have to fight anything, slide the brake pads right in. But I can also call up AutoZone and buy something from AutoZone and have to sit there, take it back to the lathe or the grinder, grind the edges of the paint and stuff off, come back, round the edges and stuff, try to get it to fit. I mean, these are the facts, guys. The parts are cheaper, but a lot of times they wear out faster. A lot of times they don't break as good. Um, the ones that say they have lifetime warranty and you can keep coming back and replacing them, the reason the pads have lifetime warranty and they can afford that is because those pads really wear that rotor so much that, yeah, you're not going to be back buying pads, but you'll be back putting new rotors on the vehicle. And that's just a fact. There's a reason why they can give you that lifetime guarantee on those pads. The pads won't wear like you think they would, but you'll be definitely warping and damaging the rotors. So you'll be pulling the pads off anyway. And then when you go to put the pads back on, you're going to have to clean them and you're going to have to do everything else. So there's a number of things. The independent dealer, they're good. Don't get me wrong. On your stuff that's, 15, 20 years old, where the technology and stuff has been out for a while, those guys know a lot about what they're doing, sure. But new stuff that comes out, new ways of doing things, different problems that people are seeing and stuff like that. Maybe a brake line's collapsing. Maybe the car's got a specific symptom or something like that. It's only been out for a few years. Your local mom and pop shops, they're not going to have the answers for all that kind of stuff. They would have probably not seen that thing, that condition. These are dealer trained technicians. They go to school for this stuff. They have to go to school. They have to take stuff apart. They have to put it back together. They have to learn why it works a certain way. Your general mom and pop shop, they're not going to know that type of stuff. Now, there are some pros and cons to that. A dealer is obviously going to be the better bet when it comes to a person working on that particular vehicle because they specialize in doing that. But you're not going to be able to meet the mechanic a lot of times. A lot of people like going to the mom and pop shops because they can build up a relationship with the person that's working on their vehicle. Now, say there was something to fail on your vehicle after going to a dealership. They have insurances. They've got the kind of money backing them and stuff like that, where if it's going to cost something to fix it and they do find that it was at the dealer's cost that that part failed, that's going to be taken care of. They're going to be able to take care of it without any questions asked. A mom and pop shop that hasn't been around that long, they haven't generated a lot of money, they're probably going to fix the vehicle, but it's going to sit in their lot for a little while. They're going to have to come up with whatever kind of funding or whatever it would be to fix that vehicle. And it's probably not something that, um, that's going to be readily available to be done at that time. A dealer's going to, they don't want you talking bad about them. They don't want the bad social media reviews. They don't want those types of bad, comments based on the relationship with their customers and stuff like that. They don't want other people seeing those bad. So they tend to get on things immediately. The cost, obviously, if you go to a mom and pop shop, you're going to pay, $75 an hour, $80 an hour, $90 an hour, something like that. You go to a dealership, you're paying for what you get. You're paying for those insurances. You're paying for factory trained technicians. You're paying for the fact that if anything goes wrong with that vehicle and it's based on that dealership's problem, you you can take it right back to them and you can assure that they're going to fix the issue, 9 times out of 10. But we often find that people don't want to pay that extra dollar. We often find that people don't want to go to that. My girlfriend. Okay, so we got a message here, and let me read the message to you so I can address it. T-Rod says, I don't trust dealerships, I have to say. My girlfriend took a Subaru for an inspection and they told her she needed a new car. Let me see. She was in tears, left and drove the car for another 10 years. Yeah, but that's one experience that makes no sense for you to take that one experience and base it on everybody else. If you need a new car and we think you need a new car, we're going to tell you, look, it's not worth putting the money in it at the dealership. This car's got X amount of miles. It's got this much stuff that has to be done. It would be cost effective. But that would be like me saying, I don't like you because you said something say you're Samoan and you said something bad to me and now I don't like any Samoans or I don't trust any Samoans or somebody did me wrong. I mean, those kind of things on a personal level, if that's how you feel, then that's fine. But you cannot take what happens at one dealer and apply it to the rest of them. Or you can, but you shouldn't. You can't take the sales department at one dealer and take the sales department and directly take that reflection and put it over on the service department. Normally, they're operated completely different. The sales have their own manager and the way they do things, and the service department has a completely different type of management. The way we do stuff over here is one way, and the way they do stuff over there is another way. The reason I'm pointing left and right is because I'm actually out back of the service department right now where the sales department's on the other end of the building. Most of the time, people that come here, if they actually have a substantial amount of repairs that need to be done, we will just completely be honest with them and tell them, like, look, you got your timing chains are wore out, you've got no extended service policy, you've got no insurance and stuff on this vehicle, there's no more warranty on this vehicle, it's got 130,000 or 140,000 miles on it, it's going to be like $6-7 grand to get this motor back together and stuff like that, and that's not even really what your vehicle's worth. So at this point, you have to look, do you really want to put the money into it and get it back up and going? I mean, because we'll do that. Or do you want to go over to service or sales and you want to go talk to them and see what's going on? See what a new vehicle would cost, because it wouldn't be cost effective to put the money into this vehicle if you're not even going to get what you want out of it. And then sometimes people say, look, I really like that vehicle. I like the fact that I've had it for the last 8 years or something, and it's been a great vehicle, and I'm just now having problems. Go ahead and put the money in it and fix it, and we'll get it done. The problem is people have bad experiences, and they try to take, just like you said, and they base it on somebody else. Or they'll take that experience and they'll reflect it on everybody else, and that's not how it should be. There's a reason why dealerships offer the stuff that they offer, and mom and pop shops can't really do the same thing a lot of dealerships can. We have a lot of tools and stuff here. We have a lot of diagnostic stuff here that costs thousands and thousands of dollars that independent shops do not have. We have a lot of the technology built into our computer systems that reprogram and test that we're constantly updated on recalls and new service messages and stuff that come out independent shops don't have. Now, I'm not talking bad about independent shops. There's a reason for an independent shop. Use it for that. My whole message here is make sure that you pay for what you're getting is exactly what you're getting. When you want to pay for somebody to do a 30-minute brake job that should be taking an hour and a half and you're buying bottom of the barrel parts, you're going to get exactly what you pay for. You go to a dealer and you find one that you trust that's very honest, you're going to get exactly what you pay for. The fact of the matter is you can go anywhere, independent shop or a dealer, um, and you could get screwed over no matter where, no matter which way you go. It's just, you know, my daddy will fix it for me. You know how often I've heard that comment? Oh, I'll just have my dad fix it. And then, true story. I started dating a girl, and I said, "Hey, the brakes are kind of wore out on your car," and she says, "I'll just have my brother do it a week from now, or I'll have my uncle do it, whoever's free this weekend." I said, "Okay, no problem." So they go on about, she goes on about her business, and then I see her on the weekend. I seen her on Sunday. Her father fixed her car on Friday. It was Friday evening he did it. So she drove it Saturday, and then I seen her Sunday, and she says, "Hey, will you look at my car for me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." He had the clips in, jammed in on top of the rust, so the brake pads were not moving back and forth, and he had to literally jam the pads in their place so the pad was sticking, and her inboard pad would not release from the rotor face. And it was literally trying to lock itself up, and it almost with a consistent burning smell all the time because he literally did not know what he was doing. He was, a backyard shade tree mechanic. He had done some mechanical stuff almost his whole life, but in this particular situation, he didn't know what he was doing. So I had to rip everything back apart, grind everything back down, do it the right way that should have been done the first time, and put it all back together. So there's one situation. Here's another time where I'm dating a girl, and she says, "Oh, I'll go to my brother. My brother, he's a mechanic at some mom and pop shop locally or whatever." I said, "No big deal. Go to your brother then. It saves me some time. I'll find something else to do that I'm actually going to make some money on." And that weekend, I had scheduled a job about an hour away. I was actually going to drive to the family's home and do their vehicle right there. It was a Ford Escape, and they needed lower control arms and brake pads done. So I drove all the way out to Island in the Hills, or Lake in the Hills, and I did the lower control arms and the brake pads right there. It was a side job I picked up. Um, and as I'm driving home, I get a call from her, and she says, "Hey, will you swing by the house tonight? Just sleep here tonight and go to work from my house in the morning. Something's up on my brakes. I let my brother do them, and I don't know what's going on." And she had an older F-150. She was a truck girl. She wasn't a car girl. She was a truck girl. And I said, "I can tell you what the problem is right now just by looking at it." And her brother works at a shop. On the Ford pads, when you buy OEM pads, you've got a double dimple on the outside, and then you've got on the no, a double dimple on the inside, and you've got two dimples on the outside pad. Well, those outside pads do not go on the inside, and the inside do not go on the outside. So what was going on is he had the pads flipped around, and as she's braking and driving and stuff like that, one of the pads was driving, or one of the pads was staying applied almost all the time. And I could see the wear pattern in the rotor face where half that pad was wearing and the other half wasn't. And I could smell while we were driving, it was dragging the rotor face constantly and hitting the gas, the vehicle. And he works at a shop. These are newer style pads that come on these newer cars that most people, they don't know the difference between inboard and outboard, or they don't, they'll try to cut corners and stuff when they're doing it. So in that situation, I would have taken it to an independent shop if you didn't want to take it to the dealer and spend the extra money. But I get these comments where I'll just have my dad do it, I'll just have my brother do it, I'll just have my friend do it. They do this stuff, and then I often have to go fix the problems whenever it's not done correctly, because yeah, they've done the stuff, but they don't consistently keep up with the technology. They don't consistently keep up with how these things are supposed to be done. They don't consistently keep up with when you work on a Ford Fusion, you have to put that vehicle in service mode before you even change the rear brake pads or you'll blow out the piston that's on it. Or they don't keep up with if you do that job in 30 minutes, you're probably not going to do it correctly. And if you're rushing to the point where you get it done in 30 minutes, you're going to blow out the brake sleeve that goes on the piston in the front. You're going to try to twist those rear calipers in so fast without lubing them up and sitting there and fighting them and working them back and forth and knocking all the rust off of it. You're going to rip those people's rear brake seal. You're going to have to buy them a $125 caliper, or they're going to have to buy a $125 caliper. At the dealer, we already expect that. We already know that that stuff is built into that hour and a half that I'm going to charge you to do those brakes. So right out the gate, you know what you're getting charged, you know what you're paying for, and anything, any hassle or stress that I have to deal with getting these calipers, these rotors, these brake pads off, that's covered in that hour and a half. I have to deal with that on my own. I can't call you up and say, hey, I need another half hour because there's just so much rust on these things. No, that's it. When I tell you it's an hour and a half to do a set of front brake pads, guess what? It's an hour and a half. All the rust and grinding and preparing and stuff that I got to do, that's included in that. You go to a mom and pop shop, they may call you up an hour later and say, hey, this is taking longer than we thought. It's not going to be a half hour. It's not going to be an hour. We need more time. It's going to cost you more money. When I give you a price at the dealership, and the mom and pop shops do this too, this is what you're getting. But there's a lot of these places that don't know how to put these vehicles in service mode to do the brakes. These newer ones with the newer technology, there's a lot of these places that don't know, hey, on these Ford Explorers or these Escapes, it's notorious whenever you pull off that caliper in the back, you're not going to be able to put that caliper back on. That caliper 9 times out of 10 is going to be froze up, and they're going to be buying a caliper as well. Or, hey, there's a service brake bleed procedure for this particular vehicle, and if you don't have the tool to put this in service brake bleed procedure mode, you're not going to be able to do it. And most of the mom and pop shops don't have that type of technology for these newer vehicles. So there's a pro and a con to everything. You're going to pay for what you get. Find somebody you trust. If you go to a dealer and you want to speak to the mechanic, ask them, hey, could I just talk to the mechanic? I feel comfortable finding out who's working on my vehicle. So if you wouldn't mind, could I just say hi to him and just maybe give him some history and let somebody else put their words in his ears so maybe he knows a little bit more about it? And the dealers will do that. They'll say, hey, Joe, will you come to the front? Hey, Dan, will you come to the front? And the customer will talk to you, or they'll take you back to their stall. A lot of these people say, oh, the big dealers, you're not going to be able to talk to the mechanic because you're just a number. No, you could talk to the mechanic. They'll actually bring the mechanic to the front, a lot of them, and they'll let you talk directly to them, and you can build that relationship with them. We have guys that walk in our dealership right here, right in the mechanic's stall and say, hey, Dan, just wanted to know what's going on with my truck. You know, I got another one for you to work on when you're done, so just give me an update. And they talk to him right there in the stall. So there is a lot of bad misinformation out there. Remember, you're going to pay for what you get. There's a pro and a con to all this stuff. And I'm not talking bad about everybody as well. You could have the best friend in the world that knows everything about everything, and he can do your repairs no problem. That's great on that guy. But a lot of people are just full of crap to begin with. And you're asking for problems when you let your family and friends and stuff work on your stuff. And that's a big no-no. That's my biggest no-no. I don't know what to tell you about your situation with them trying to sell her a car on the spot. I mean, there are some dirty people out there. But again, you can't take that one experience, or you can, but I would suggest against it. You took one bad experience and now you don't like dealers. And that's just what it comes down to. I mean, if that's how it is in your life, then that's crappy of them to do that, but I can't change your mind. You have to do that on your own. You're an adult. I can't do that for you. I'm not going to take one bad experience and say, you know, because of this bad experience, now I hate everybody. I can't, you know, you got to try again. You got to go somewhere else, you know, and it just so happens to be talking. I was dealing with a Subaru situation this morning. Anyhow, independent shop versus the dealer. The dealer is the better bet. You're paying for factory trained technicians that specialize in working on your vehicle. The independent shop's not bad, but the third worst situation is a family member, a friend, or something like that. I wouldn't go that route. But that's just me. If they know what they're doing, then you'll know, you'll get that warm and fuzzy, and you make that decision. Thanks, guys. I'm going to start my day. I'm going to go in here and clock in and throw my monkey suit on and get to work. Thank you. Be blessed.